This week on Critical Role, half the group find themselves in the bitter cold of the Crystal Sands tundra, and we get to meet two blasts from the past. Let's get into it. Following the cliffhanger from last week, half the table is gone! I am so pleased that my theory about the party being split with some guests jumping in was correct. Pat on the back, everyone. We are with Team Wildmount, Chetney, FCG, Fern, and Imogen as they find themselves in the Crystal Sands tundra outside of Uthodurn. And the reason they know it's just them is because Chetney shares how he smells all of his friends. FCG smells like greasy grime with metallic sweetness, Imogen like hay, and Fern...
all the vibrant colors of the Feywild. If you could taste a rainbow. If you could kiss... Listen! It's not the time for that. If we have to repopulate the world, we'll focus on that later, okay?
Oh no, I won't be able to participate.
Imogen gets them back on track with the current issue. Where are their friends and where are they? Imogen tries to message Laudna.
Where are you? Are you still there? What happened? I don't know where we are. It's snowing. Oh, please tell me you're okay.
And Matt asks her to roll a D100 and she gets a 98.
As you begin to speak through this spell, a heavy bit of static seems to come through your mind, like the actual weave of the message seems to unravel amongst the arcane patterns that allow you to reach out to your friend, to Laudna. And as the words are being pushing through, the static gets louder and louder and louder and louder, and then you hear like a pop in your head, and you take 6 points of psychic damage.
FCG tries as well, but it also doesn't work. They worry that they've lost all of their magic, but they are able to use some spells. I think it is the ley lines disrupting the magical weave and making it impossible to send magic out. Well, that and the DM wanting to split the party and not have to deal with sending spells. It kind of takes us back to campaign 1 days. Pike did have access to the sending spell as a cleric, but I don't think she used it all that much since Ashley was away from the game a lot. Since campaign 2, the party have leaned heavily on the sending spell to gather and share information and bother NPCs.
I've told you time and time again, stop messaging me. I swear, one more time, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna cut your throat.
Chetney recognizes where they are and they start heading towards Uthodurn. But he is somewhat nervous about returning because he, in his last time here, stabbed Altgar as well as someone else and he got chased out by the Glass Blades, the law enforcement here in Uthodurn. It's been quite a while since I watched The Night Before Christmas. Does that line up with any of the actions of Chutney Chocolate Cane? Let me know.
Oh, those are the good old days, you damn whippersnapper.
To make the trip quicker, Imogen casts Fly onto herself, and Chetney and Fern, now that she is an 8th level druid, can turn into flying animals, so she turns into a giant eagle, which she flavors as a giant shoebill.
Is the shoebill going to be able to hang in the snowy, frozen
Still has all the stats of the eagle.
It's fantasy trap. We'll go with it.
Here is what a shoebill looks like. It's a very odd creature, but, you know, very on brand for Fern. At the end of the day, they take shelter in a cavern, but unfortunately, it was already occupied.
From beneath, the ground erupts in an explosion of rock and snow as you all suddenly have to cover your eyes and back away for the heavy impact of whatever this was that blasts out of the ground. Suddenly, the dust begins to settle, the snow begins to settle, and you see there crawling out from it this massive, deep, cerulean skinned lizard-like creature.
This appears to be a frost salamander, which have a challenge rating of 9, and the group realize quite quickly that they might be in trouble when the creature does 42 points of cold damage with its freezing breath attack. But luckily, help arrives in the form of Abria Iyengar and Christian Navarro. Abria is of course well known to critters as the Dungeon Master for Exandria Unlimited Prime and as the character Laren Koromar Sealy from Exandria Unlimited Calamity. And Christian appeared in the Nordverse one-shot as Wrigley Wriggle Me This and also moderated the Critical Role panel at San Diego Comic-Con last year. With these mysterious allies' help, they managed to take down the salamander and they all turn to face each other for some introduction. Abria is playing Deanna, a gnome cleric of the Dawnfather.
At roughly half of their height, you see just a little gnome. She's got dark skin and chubby cheeks that are kind of like red and frosty with the cold. She's wearing heavy plate in gold. You can see even prominently from the back a massive symbol of the Dawnfather around her waist. But over top of that, just a beautifully chunky knit pale pink sweater blanket situation that she just sort of runs up in Uggs.
And she is Chetney's former lover, who Matt mentioned in episode 34. I'm like, I can't believe we got to meet her.
You feel like your very soul is pried open, memories spilling forth, gentler times of wayward romances in your youth. Deanna and her laugh, FRIDA and her patience.
We've already seen Abria play a snarky ex-lover with Sam, and now we get some more like fun ex-energy between Deanna and Chetney.
Were you tracking this creature?
Yeah, why are you out here in the tundra?
We're headed back towards Uthodurn.
Oh.
A place on the map that I guess you fucking forgot existed.
It's been a minute.
You guys want to come back?
Yes, please.
It's
And
just
Christian is playing a rogue fighter called FRIDA. They are an aeormaton!
And an emerald green, rose gold framed, plated aeormaton.
Oh!
In a very elegant, beautifully designed emerald green trench coat with a collar up that sort of frames their necks, pardon me. A rose gold painted face that is feminine in appearance and slender and soft. And you see that there is no sleeve on the right arm. Instead, the aeormaton configuring has sort of broken apart so that you can see the inner workings where you see a blunderbuss gun.
Where the smoke is currently pouring from that crack shot you just heard.
Yes, I'm so happy that FCG is going to hear more about being an aeormaton and more about their past and their history. It's awesome. FRIDA stands for Far-Ranging Integrated Defense Aeormaton, a name which is engraved underneath their faceplate. Unfortunately, the party were not able to get FCG's faceplate off to determine if they have a name engraved there, but Jacoby Micel, a person in Uthodurn which installed FRIDA's blunderbuss, will hopefully be able to help with that when they get to Uthodurn. So maybe we'll get to find out like FCG's true name. They settle down for the night and Deanna shares some very deep details of her life. She explains that after Chetney, she got married and settled down with someone called Dustle and they had a family. Then at a midsummer event, she was killed.
imagine life is like being a snowflake, and you're fragile and discreet, and you dance on the wind, but when you cross over, it's like landing on the ocean. And for a little bit, you're a snowflake on the ocean. But after a while, you melt, and you are the ocean. It's hard to come back from something like that.
Because you shouldn't.
Not now.
This comment from FRIDA, because you shouldn't, is so interesting. You know, we learn later that when FRIDA was brought back online, that they were ripped from somewhere that they would rather be. They clearly hold some bitterness and resentment about that. Okay, so back to Deanna. Some 200 years after her death, her husband, who had become an adventurer, found a cleric of the Dawn Father who resurrected her. Due to the huge age difference and Dustle having an undefined promise elsewhere, they parted ways. And Deanna's kids are all grown up with families of their own, and she doesn't really seem to know them, which is really sad. It's a pretty tragic story for a incredibly chipper and bright character. Then FRIDA explains how they and Deanna met. FRIDA was woken up one day, likely in Aeor, by D, Devexian, and they found their way to Uthodurn.
And I spent a few days watching, learning, and I heard her laughter. And I realized then that one of my primary functions as an aeormaton, probably in the past, was to record. And I have recordings of everyone's laughter that I've ever met. And hers was unique and yet familiar. And it felt as if I was reminded that my programming was to protect. And I imagine this is what home feels like. And so I protect her.
That is so heckin' sweet! I love this idea of recording people's laughs and recording people's voices and what you can do with that, and we do see FRIDA utilize that skill later in the episode. Deanna shares that she has been feeling less connected to the Dawn Father over the last day or so, which is kind of concerning, and FCG shares about his faith in the Changebringer. The others push back on this, again, backed up by FRIDA and Deanna.
I also am sort of aligned with a god,
Wait, really? Which one?
the Changebringer. Some fella gave me a coin, and that's how I chose.
I'm sorry, run that back. You were given a coin, and
Well,
you based a whole system of faith on a coin?
I was looking for some sort of sign or
Why?
Or meaning? Well, because now that I'm, I guess alive, I feel like part of being alive means you have to have a meaning, a purpose in life.
Why do you believe that a god gives you purpose?
Yes.
They said it, not me.
Well, because I can't come up with one on my own.
Sure you can.
You did before.
I'm looking forward to FCG potentially kind of expanding their outlook somewhat after meeting somebody like FRIDA. They take a long rest, with FRIDA taking the first watch, and Imogen notices that the markings on her arms have spread further and that the purple coloration has started to turn red. Could this be hinting at her transforming into a Rylora, like we see some Rylora later in the episode? As they sleep, Deanna casts Death Ward on Chetney, and the target of this spell, when they drop to 0 hit points for the first time, drops to 1 hit point instead, and it lasts for 8 hours. Christian reveals later that normally FRIDA is the recipient of the Death Ward, so that might end up being a source of tension in the future. That night, Chetney has to transform into a wolf because the moon Katha has become full.
I hugged him and he turned into a werewolf? What the fuck?
It probably wasn't you.
You know, maybe it made him feel real good and he lost control of those primal sort of urges.
Take it.
No, really
No,
not.
I need it.
Really?
I need the boost.
FRIDA and FCG share insights about themselves with each other, nerding out aeormaton style, and we learn that FRIDA can dream, something that FCG has wanted to do for a long time. So the group wonder if FCG casts Share Dream with FRIDA, what that might look like. Hopefully they get to do that soon, but in the interim they decide instead to delve into Imogen's dreams again because she wants to find Laudna, not the BFF split up.
And like you're pulled into the current of a stream far stronger than you were expecting, you immediately slip into a dream. And you feel your consciousness not directed towards your intent, but pulled, dragged, yanked. The two of you pulled alongside like you are tethered and chained to something that is being carried away by a flood. You're all of a sudden being torn through the multicolored strands of the sky. You are being dragged across the weave of ley lines and magical energy in Exandria at a speed you can't comprehend until they all go red, where everything is pulled towards, where all streams are directed. The singular nexus of all magic in Exandria. Here, the strong column of red energy, the beam that still holds, piercing upward from the center of Marquette into the now locked, unmoving moon of Ruidus.
Imogen sees a energy passing between the Malleus Key and Ruidus and the divine lattice around the moon being pulled apart. And around the key are hundreds of Rylora, beings that have been spawned or created by Predathos, at least we assume. Are they here on Exandria? How did they get here? Did they travel down the beam? Did the Vanguard followers turn into them? Did Predathos just spawn them here? What are they going to do here? We need answers! Imogen feels a primal urge to give in and release to Ruidus or Predathos, but Fern manages to wake her up by casting Earthbind on her body and...
I'm gonna go stand over Imogen.
What are you doing? Wake her up.
I'm gonna slap her in the face and I'm gonna scream,
Imogen! Wake up!
Deanna helps Imogen get over this sort of very distressing moment by casting Greater Restoration. It was a really nice moment. Hopefully, Imogen will resist the pull of Predathos, although a teeny tiny part of me wants to give in just to, see what happens. Meanwhile, FRIDA leaves the cabin to look for Chetney, finding his tracks fairly easily as well as the kills that he has been making in his wolven form. They lose the trail, but draw Chetney out using their ability to replay people's voices. They replay the sound of Fern's voice.
Chet.
Chad.
Chet.
Chetney hears this and manages to break through his primal instinct somewhat and follows the sound of Fern's voice. Once Chetney emerges, FRIDA then plays the clip of Deanna saying, "This is the first thing from my past that didn't hurt me," from Deanna and Chetney's conversation earlier. Chetney, however, is confused because the voice is familiar but the smell is not, and the smell is not a flesh and blood creature at all. FRIDA kneels down and tries to get through to Chetney.
I'll echo again Deanna's words. And then it'll be my voice. And I'll say, I know you're in there, Pokapi. My friend needs you now. Please come back.
Matt asks Christian to roll a persuasion check, but even with advantage, FRIDA only gets a 3, and the two roll initiative. FRIDA fires their blunderbuss into the air to alert Deanna, and they begin to run back to the camp. Chetney swipes as FRIDA runs, and then chases and knocks them down. FRIDA casts a guiding bolt from their eyes, but rolls a 1.
Oh no.
Come on,
Get that out of here. Get rid of it.
Give me that. Give me that.
And then charges straight at Chetney. Chetney lunges at FRIDA and grapples them with his jaws and thrashes them around like a dog. The rest of the group, hearing FRIDA's gunshot, rush out into the night. Chetney slams FRIDA into the ground and...
Oh, God. Jesus. So sorry.
Oh my God.
22.
Hey, bro.
22, 27.
Oh, 2 seconds.
FRIDA fires back into Chetney's face, playing the sound of Deanna's laugh. This manages to get through to Chetney, and he saves against his lichen form. He's still a werewolf, but he has kind of come to his senses somewhat, and he feels a deep shame of having hurt a friend and bounds off into the forest. Deanna is pissed that Chetney attacked FRIDA.
Fine.
Fuck him.
He's in there. No. He was
I'll get him
trying
out.
to fight.
I'll get him out the old-fashioned way. Where the fuck did he go?
Wait, what do you mean? Oh, are you gonna fuck him or are you gonna? No! I just don't. I was sorry. I just wasn't sure what the old-fashioned way was.
Because you
I'm
probably
gonna
should wait
tear
until he's out of wolf
that
form.
geriatric gnome outside of the little wolf that he's running around in. You're gonna be down one more fucking party member.
Well,
What? Yeah, calm me the fuck down right now.
No, it's okay.
I mean,
it's okay. I'm fine.
All right.
You can absolutely try.
I'm gonna call emotions on you.
We'll both cast
You
calm
can both.
emotion.
They start to head back to camp, but before they do, Matt is flipping through his rule books and his notes and asks Christian for a roll.
FRIDA, could you roll a Constitution saving throw for me, if you don't mind?
No.
I mean, I'm all for it. Oh, shut the fuck up.
That
It's a 10.
All right.
that dice.
We're going to end the session there.
Ah! What does this mean? Now, in the Blood Hunter class description, it says that Blood Hunter werewolves inhabit a hybrid form for up to 1 hour that they have some control over, and there is no mechanic for cursing other creatures with lycanthropy there. But in the werewolf stat block from the Monster Manual, if the werewolf bites a creature and it fails a saving throw, it becomes a werewolf. Since a lot of Chetney's story has been about losing control and trying to control his werewolf form, I love that Matt might be playing a little fast and loose with the rules here, because can an aeormaton even become a werewolf? Like, what does that mean? Will it transform since it's not made of flesh and blood? Will it just use its metal parts to make a wolf shape? Absolutely fascinating stuff. I can't wait to see how this shakes out. I wonder if next week we're going to stay with Team Chetney or if we will be checking in with Team Ashton. Alternating week to week could be a lot of fun, but it might be harder to keep track of the story. One option is maybe they filmed one group at a time and then filmed the other and then we'll broadcast them alternating. I guess it depends on how far ahead they are with pre-recording. How many sessions do you think the party will be split for? Let me know in the comments. I'm really excited to see Abria and Christian join the party for, a decent chunk of time. I really thought that we would get some kind of resolution on Predathos by the end of this episode, but it seems like this tethering situation is going to go on for some time now. We could be with either side of the group for a number of episodes each and then end up with them meeting back at the Malleus Key, for Bell's Hells versus Laudna's round 2. And are we going to see changes in the gods moving forward? Deanna mentioned that she felt a distance already from the Dawnfather after just a day. How is that going to play out? I don't know if it was deliberately set up for this, but the fact that Abria chose to play a cleric is really helpful for letting the audience see any effects that might arise as the lattice around Ruidus is being split open. I'm extremely excited to learn more about FRIDA and what they can do to show FCG about what it means to be alive and to be their own person. This was also a really clever way of working in some of FCG's backstory as we pursue Chetney's as well. Just circling back to last week's episode briefly, something that I saw pop up in the comments a lot was the idea that Ludinus was not the one who split the party. I thought that maybe he had cast some kind of mass banishment, but a lot of you think that it may have actually been Liliana or Imogen who was responsible, maybe sending them away as some kind of protective instinct. As far as we know, Liliana was not there the first time that we had a whiteout situation in the fight with Uthodurn, so it could be that Imogen in that initial fight sent Uthodurn and her forces away without meaning to, and then in this instance she flung away Bell's Hells without meaning to. I think that's a really neat idea. Hopefully we are going to get some kind of explanation about how that all works soon. What did you think of this week's episode? Let me know all of your theories and ideas in the comments below. And if you want to revisit some Critical Role history with me, check out this video where I react to some iconic moments from the last 8 years. Bye!
GM, does she have purple stuff on her titties?
Are you looking?
I'm looking.
She's looking.
Do you need a light? I cast a light on her sweater.
You probably can't see
A little
from
bit.
an angle, so you probably should.
Do you have purple shit on your titties?
It's all over me. I got lightning titties.